All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to class 6 of tonalism, mystery, memory, and imagination. I can't believe this is already our second to last class. I see that about half of you guys have signed up for the next class. So if you are wanting to join us, there's still time and still space. Would love to have everybody back. This has been an amazing group. You guys are turning in some beautiful work, and it's been a lot of fun learning together and painting together. So hopefully you guys are wanting to do that. Let's go ahead and just get right into it. And what I want to do is spotlight myself, and we're going to jump right to our Padlet page. All right, everybody sees Padlet?
Yeah.
Yep. All right, again, class recordings over here. You guys are sharing some great links. Thanks, Meg and Hassan, for sharing great links. What I like to do in this part of the class, the second to last class, is to really quickly kind of go over what we've been learning, what we've been talking about, and see what really stands out. Because I'm a big believer that, in these kind of classes, these kind of workshops, there's a lot of information coming at you, a whole new lesson, a whole new way of thinking about painting every week. So I like to quickly go over these to reiterate, to remember what we've learned, and also just to see what really stands out. What's going to be something that you're going to take into your artwork going forward. Like I said, we get a lot of information. And the truth is, one or two good things, and it's going to be different for all of us, is all you need to really grow your work. If you try to implement all these things all at once, it can be overwhelming. So I kind of would like to just quickly go through some of these handouts. And I kind of messed up the order a little bit, but this one was just values over color. And I just want to ask you guys what you thought about that, about really focusing in on the design elements, the big structure, the big simplification that can be done. We used the wipe away method. We started the painting 3 different ways throughout here, but I would love to hear what you guys think about thinking about values and structure first, and then getting into the color. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, Gail, because I know this has been a big influence on your art.
Yeah.
And really, I don't know if I could say it changed. That might be why you came to this class, but tell me a little bit about what that means to you and what it has done to affect how you build your paintings or make your paintings.
The structure or the design has been enormous. I can take if I don't have a strong design and a strong structure, even the values don't work. There has to be a strong design. There has to be a plan and all the elements you've talked about. Where's the horizon line? Where's the focal point? What's the light source? How are all those things working together? Because those things working together is really what will establish the values. But if you don't have those big shapes, if you don't have the design, if you don't have a strong structure, at least for me, where I'm at in my painting, even values won't help a lousy design and a lousy structure. So that has been absolutely enormous for me. And then it's like you said, you need to hear these things over and over and over again and pick up a little thing each time, each class or each session.
Agreed.
Because I find myself now looking, where are the tangents? Which is something I never would have thought of before. What are the tree, what do the trees look like? Are there interesting shape? Do I have sky holes? All of those things and what works together value-wise to bring you back to the focal point. So I know that's probably more than what you asked, but
no, but that's exactly right. Yeah. I like to remind myself you cannot paint your way out of bad design.
No, you can't paint your way
No
in.
color, nothing is going to help.
No value, no color, no value is going to help. Other thing that, and again, this is going back to a previous class, which may not be necessarily a good thing, or it's an ad for your next class. the colors that we did. We spent a whole session last year on color wheels and creating your palette and so forth and so on. That was the next enormous big step, you know, deciding what my own, you know, you show a lot of examples, but I kind of figured out what my palette was, and I use that as consistently as I can, because if I can keep the basic shapes, get a good solid design, establish the values, and now I have that palette, I can work with and make some informed decisions. And the chances of me having a successful painting are enormous, because I'm not guessing what that palette was because I had to wait for something to dry and I've done 2 other underpaintings or something. I try and keep those consistent.
Yeah, I think that is huge. I know I've talked a lot about experimentation with colors and trying different limited palettes. But the truth is, yeah, if you find a palette or even just create a palette and do 3 to 4 paintings with that. I know that Hassan was asking last Thursday about, you know, if he's doing all these paintings with different color palettes, especially if he's working on a bunch of paintings at the same time, how does he keep these palettes fresh? How does he remember which palettes he's using? And I've run into that issue myself. And the truth is, I typically use almost the same colors all the time, with maybe 1 or 2 guest colors.
And that's what I've learned to do.
Yeah, it really helps. You're just jumping all over the place. So for those of you who are newer to painting, you know, just using 1 red, 1 yellow, 1 blue, I forced myself to do that at the beginning of my career, and I think it was one of the best things I ever did. That was the cadmium yellow light, cad red meaty, cad red light, and ultramarine and white. I wouldn't use those colors today. If I was suggesting the colors, I would use quinacridone red, just because it has a lot more opportunity. But just anyways, it doesn't even hardly matter what colors you choose, as long as you stick with them and learn them, and then you can add 1 color at a time. And you, again, I just always equate it to cooking. It's just like, you know, if I gave you a whole bunch of spices all at the same time, you'll never know what combination's working, which one's not working, what's, you know, spices blowing out the, you know, stew that you're making. So having less spices and then adding them 1 at a time and actually learning how they work together, how they taste together. Well, don't taste your paints, but you know, all of that is really important. I think we just get so excited and jump way ahead with color. So going back to what you said about values, for a lot of you, or for a number of you, black and white is totally legit. It is so fine to work in a very, very, very limited palette. And just working on your composition, your design, and your values is going to,
I want you to,
all the paintings going forward much, much better. Feels like we're taking a step back. It feels like we're, you know, slowing down. We all just want to get into this fun of color. But the truth is, without that fundamental base, again, it's like the foundation of our house, right? If you don't build a good foundation, you can't build a good house. It's just going to fall over. Anybody?
No amount of decorating is going to fix.
and I'm going to pop in with, I spent a good part of my life just saying, I'm not going to use a ruby beholder. I'm not going to use that silly red thing. I know what the values are. And then I got some. And I will tell you what an awakening that is, because I am so wrong so often when I think I know the values, and then when I check them, oh boy, you know, so that's been
They're all
huge.
in the middle, aren't they? Mine are anyway when I look at them.
I can't even believe it when I look at the reference and I hold up that red acrylic to the reference, and then I hold it up to my work and I said, wow, was that ever off? And then I can fix it, right? So now it's a check that I use absolutely all the time.
Right.
Yeah, whenever I'm going back to a painting that's not working, the first thing I do is re-implement my darks.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden the structure comes back that I've lost. And it's really building that up. In lieu of having a red thing to look through, you can just take a quick photo with your iPhone or your smartphone and just turn it to black and white.
Mhm.
It's a great way to do it. I often when I'm painting from references and print,
Titus.
I will have a black and white and a color printed.
There's
And
also an app you can put on your phone that's a Notan app.
yeah,
will-
the Notanizer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it costs $1 and it will.
I don't know if it even costs that. Maybe it does, but
Is that what it's called? Is it called the Notan app? What is it called?
I was just looking for the little icon. It looks
Yeah, the one I have is called the Notanizer.
and shoot, it looks like the little yin and yang icon.
Okay.
Yeah, the Notanizer, Notanizer.
And
But
it,
even a lot of the time, I just take it into my just normal, typical photo app that just comes with your camera and just turn it to black and white. And then sometimes I'll push the, values a little bit up or down. And I'm actually going to show you a quick example of that. Just using the software that's on your computer already, no Photoshop, nothing like that, and show you how I adjust some of my photos. So great. Does anybody else have anything to add about understanding the tonal values and design and composition? All right. So in the next class, we will be focusing more on the color keys and the temperature keys, but also we're going to be looking at shapes and the importance of shapes. And when I say shapes, I do not mean squares, circles, all that. I mean just abstract shapes. So that will be something we will be leaning into more coming up in the next class. All right. Also showing you guys, I'm just kind of reviewing some of the notes. We talked a lot about mixing dark colors using that, primary, using one red, one yellow, one blue, and how we can just mix all of the colors. It's generally going to be more blue and a little bit of red, and then just that'll make a really horrible purple, often purple-ish color, and just a touch of yellow with that will darken it down. You do not, very, very, very rarely in landscape paintings do we need black. Right? We think we see black, but truthfully there's color, there's bounced light, there's all these different things. So just making a really dark color can be really useful. So when you are choosing a limited palette, try to stay away from colors that have white mixed in with them. That will really help. Otherwise, you're going to end up with a lot of gray and muted colors. And those are easy to make simply by adding some white, in my case, titanium white typically. So just be aware of that when you're out buying your colors, that any color that's mixed with white, just remember you can make that, but you can't unmake that. Once white is added, you can't get it out. You can always add white. So, when we go and they've got, 300 tubes and they're all beautiful and fantastic, just look and just realize that, it is a beautiful color in the tube, but it has white in it, which limits your mixing options. All right. Anybody want to talk a little bit about the limited palettes that we did, the color wheels? I showed you that first color wheel that I did and how I've kind of expanded to a split primary palette to open up the options of color. Again, that's the most common when I can paint pretty much anything with my split primary palette, which means 2 yellows, 2 reds, and 2 blues plus white. And I can do a huge amount. When I have just a single red, a single yellow, and a single blue, odds are that I'm either going to be making a very dirty green or a very ugly purple. just because of how the colors lean with a singular primary. So what I do is the split primary. So if you want to jump forward to that, you have my supply list that I recommend. I'm oftentimes kind of tweaking that, experimenting with, one, maybe instead of a cadmium yellow deep, I might use the Indian yellow, which has actually become more consistent on my palette. The Indian yellows kind of replaced the orangey yellows on my palette. I used to use alizarin red, and now I use quinacridone because, again, it just has more options. It can go warm, it can go cool. It starts off transparent. I can make it opaque. With my blues, I've got one blue that leans towards green, which is the manganese blue hue. And I've got one that leans towards purple, which is my ultramarine blue. Those have stayed pretty consistent, but I do experiment with that again. Sometimes, again, I add Payne's gray or a transparent earth red. Any questions on the color wheels that we experimented with?
I have a question kind of going back to not picking a color that has white. Is it something that we just kind of eyeball and can tell that there's white in it, or will it say that it has white in it?
On the back, it will give a number and letter code.
Yeah.
And that will help. But yeah, you have to figure out what's the code for, the whites. But yeah, you can kind of tell generally by looking at the colors. A lot of them are called like vibrant colors, or I think anytime it's kind of grayed down. Yeah, anything like a pink will generally have white added to it.
Would
And
that include
that won't
magentas?
be transparent. When you look at your transparency for lighter colors, the white in there will make it less transparent. So you could look at the thing on the back of the tube.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, good question. Good question.
Michael, have you tried just for fun, like mixing a wheel using secondary color? Like orange, mixing a color wheel using secondary color with like green, orange, and purple?
I haven't really, no. Yeah, I'd be curious.
Yeah,
with the like K colors, it was kind of interesting that, the blue, we made blue by mixing the what was the blue we were using, the bluish color. Anyways, I don't remember, but yeah, it's sometimes the secondary palette, you're going to end up with a lot of muddy colors because you're automatically mixing tertiaries instead of secondaries. But yeah, no, that'd be an interesting experiment. Maybe we'll do that in the color class or even next semester in the next class. I've never tried that.
I did that a couple weeks ago, and I actually I didn't think I posted it. And so it's on my palette. So it was a yellow ochre, diox purple, and sap green. And so I actually put the wheel on there. And I said at the time that I didn't know if I'd be able to do anything with it, maybe a nocturne, but I wound up doing a painting with it. I can post that. I can pull that and post that up there if you're interested.
I would be.
And it's yeah, I can.
I did one, but turns out
that
Beautiful.
One
and
thing I
it's
still
still in progress, but that's just yellow ochre, diox. I did cheat a little. I bought in a little quin red just for those mountains in the distance. But so I guess I could have been truer to the palette, but that's pretty much it. That was all I did.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah.
You're going to get a lot of harmony, I think. But yeah, it's going to be, I'm surprised those yellows came out so bright. But
Yeah.
again, all colors
That's
are.
the yellow in the sky is still the underpainting. So that was still I haven't worked on the sky at all, so it's still the, and I have to say, obviously, I am bringing in some white. So so there's a question. So if you're saying I use a limited palette and it's these three colors, do you always assume white is going to be?
Yes,
Yeah.
I do personally.
Yeah. So I did use white too, but I haven't, that center yellow portion of the sky there is just the underpainting still.
Yellow ochre.
Yeah. Yep. Yellow ochre.
All right, but it sure
Wiped away.
appears vibrant. So that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I
Okay.
learned was using transparent paints instead of opaque paints. When you're using 3 colors, I got a much wider range of colors.
Yeah.
With the transparent.
Mhm.
Yeah.
When I used opaque colors, it was really muddy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this stayed very clean, surprisingly clean.
That's really cool. All right, so really quickly, Nyla, what's the thing you're gonna take from this class?
No.
Lean into it and
Colton, do not
think
open.
is the most interesting or gonna be the most helpful for you going forward?
Well, I know that I've got to be looser, and I think this class is helping me with that. The one that I did today, well, actually, that I posted for today, I thought I was being really loose. It worked up extremely quickly because I was just kind of slashing it on. But when I went back the next day, the mountain in the back was too crisp, I thought. So I kind of blurred it a little bit. But I enjoyed the experimenting with colors. And the picture that I posted today is those 3 colors that I expanded on the week before.
Very cool.
So
Great.
and, you know, every
you,
class there's something that helps me progress, and it does make me paint because, you know, I have limited time, and if I were left by myself without the challenge of having to put something out, I probably would say, oh, it's too hard to get all this out and then have to clean it up so everybody can sit down and eat supper. And you know, those aren't very artsy things to say, but it is a takeaway from me that it is challenging me and helping me to paint more. And I've learned so much that I never even thought about before. Values and the harmony of the colors. I used to, I have a suitcase full of paint. And since I've been taking this class, I've done kind of like Gail. I've limited my palette, and I've used basically the same palette up till this past week when I used the one that I just experimented with. But you know, I have about 6 colors of paint plus white and a couple of blacks. That's all I've painted with since I've been in your class.
Oh, good. And it really opens it up, doesn't it? You'd think it's restrictive, but in fact, it actually makes it more expressive and more harmonious at the same time.
Right. It has improved my painting considerably. I will have to say that.
All right, Linda Camarada, I'm just kind of looking at my list here and just kind of going through. What is the one thing or 2 things that you really kind of are going to be taking forward or have helped you this last couple weeks?
Well, Michael, I've been painting for a very long time, and I've talked and taken instructions with a lot of different people. And for me, you have admitted to being ADHD, which I have a problem with, and I'm trying to control it. And I think that you've given me a structure that I really didn't get in other classes. Rules to follow, like the limited palette, and you've set parameters for yourself in your own work that are helping me tremendously. So I appreciate you.
I think there's so much creativity in restriction.
I think so
I
too.
think that when we set up a palette or set up some kind of like, okay, I'm working within these guidelines, you know, and they can be self-imposed for
Yeah.
each painting. But then we become even more creative when we're kind of offered the world, you know, every paint tube, every reference, every, you know, thing. Then we can lose the plot and become so distracted, especially, you know, us ADHD gifted people.
Yeah. Yes.
That having these limitations actually can lead to more creativity, which I really like. Thank you for that. Denise, are you with us? I see you're not on the screen, but I don't know if you're able to hear us or talk.
Let me see here, figure this out.
That's okay. Just asking kind of what was the big takeaway for you so far in this class?
Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you fine.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've just been sidelined by breaking out in hives for a week, and then my computer dying suddenly when I was not ill. So actually, I'm really behind on everything.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go forward now before the class is over and read all the wonderful things you've posted here on Padlet. I did get back to that wetland design that I posted at the beginning, and I tried to take out the hedgehog shape, and it's really ugly. So I haven't resolved that design at all.
It's like remodeling your kitchen, right? A lot of times when you go in to do the remodel, it's going to be ugly for a little while. So
Yeah, I might get back into it. So I guess I just have to keep up. That's all. You've
well,
got
no,
a
that's
wonderful
okay.
class.
Could I say maybe then that design and composition would be kind of the big one, is kind of really going, okay, what's working, what's not working before we progress to the big details and the refinement.
Yes, that summarizes where I'm at with that design. Yes.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Cheryl
welcome.
Peters, what are you taking from this class? I know you were not able to be here, had to go to Italy.
Yeah, somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
What I got from this class, and I have to say from previous classes, it's all coming together. The limited palette, I never used a huge palette, but the limited palette is much better. And I must say that when I start something, like if a sky needs to be a particular color, if I use that blue, I use that blue throughout. And I end up going down with 3 or 4 colors anyway, because I think it makes it more harmonious, but I do use the full palette sometimes. It's having a reason to sit down and paint is really important to me, and seeing what everybody else is doing, and that tonalism isn't my strong point.
No, that's all right. I mean, Regini's going to be the next person I'm talking to, and I don't want you beautiful colorists to not be colorists, you know. But I want you to understand and to realize that, yeah, maybe limiting the palette to a degree will help you. Then when you bring in other colors, you'll be able to understand them a little better. Perfect. All right, Regini, let's jump to you. Maybe you have the same answer. I don't know. But what's the main thing from this class?
Yeah, before joining this class, I was always a self-taught person. But after joining the class, and that time I never understood the importance of values, and I mean how important it is. But now I know the values. Like I still struggle with it, but getting better at that. And I think probably that is the reason I'm not able to paint tonal paintings, because in tonal paintings, the values are so close. I think that could be one reason. Another thing, I never used a limited palette, which was a good idea, and I'm going to try with that.
I would love to see what you do with, yeah, one red, one yellow, one blue, just a painting or two or three. And then, I mean, again, like I said, we're looking at all the paintings behind you and they're beautiful. Like, I do not want to take color away from you. And I also think, without, at the risk of sounding, I don't know, but, you come from India, and
Yeah.
I've been to India, and it's one of the most colorful, places, the saris, the women's clothing, everything, food, everything is so colorful that, where I grew up in Oregon, where everything's gray and green, so we lean towards kind of, our upbringing and our life. So I do not want to take color from you. If I was going to go and paint in India again, I would definitely take a full palette. The colors are, something that's so special there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I definitely, just because the class again is called tonalism, I don't expect us to be all tonalist painters, but I think we can learn so much again about how important values are and everything else. So I appreciate challenging yourself, and I love, like, you'll start kind of tonalist, and then when you share the final painting, it's got the colors back in, and that's fine. That's great. Nope, that's perfect. All right, Darlene, how about you? How have you enjoyed this class as one of the new students in the group here?
It actually has been a real eye-opener. It is a little bit difficult because this is my first experience with something different, and I have not been painting a long time. So, one of the good parts is, well, many of the good parts are, there's a lot to this class, but forcing myself to paint was a real good one, because it's hard for me sometimes to put that first stroke on a canvas. It's like writer's block or something. I stand there, I look at that, and I think, I can't do this. So it's forced me to get over that a little bit. I still struggle with it. I love tonalism. I didn't realize that because I'd never heard of it. But what started me painting was a book that I saw on the Hudson River School. And I just fell in love with that. It was drama, and it was beautiful. And I find out that a lot of that is tonalism. I did get a used book on George Innes, and I love the work. I loved learning a limited palette, because every time I saw color in something, I'd have to look for a tube of paint that was that color. And so I've stuck to a really limited palette here in the last few weeks, with just yellow ochre and cadmium red light, I think, and Payne's gray and black and white. And I find that really freeing. Also, the acrylics, I had acrylic paints, but I didn't do much with them. And finding that the acrylic underpainting is awesome, because you go back and change instantly what you don't like. I mean, within a couple of minutes, or move things, or it's a very, very, I said that in my post, I think it's really freeing. Had never contemplated doing that, and I really like that. That's been outstanding. Design and composition is something that I want to learn more about. One of the things I noticed about the Hudson River School and George Innes and some of the others is that they have an ability to see something, and they either distill it or turn it into their own. And that's what I'm really hoping to be able to do, and not just try to make a faithful representation of a reference or what I'm seeing. And right now, I don't think I feel brave enough to try to make something my own, but I'm hoping that I can develop some skills and techniques and maybe, you know, finally get the courage to try to step out of trying to make the faithful representation of what I'm looking at, whether my reference or wherever I'm seeing, and make it mine, because what I'm seeing in the artwork in like George Innes is that the details are not necessarily there. Everything seems soft edged, maybe almost dreamlike, and yet there's a real deep emotion that comes from that, and it's not from making photorealism. It's, you know, the ability to put that emotion or feeling or whatever that you have out there. That's what I'm hoping to get. And when I hear you talk about the next class, learning how to see shapes, I think that's what I'm really looking forward to, that, because I think that would help me a lot. I'm still fighting to try to make something faithful representation of whatever I'm looking at. And I definitely want to move beyond that and be able to, you know, strike out on what I'm seeing or feeling and trying to get that down. Does that make sense? It's hard to explain.
You're making me excited for the next class. I can't wait to learn about shapes. No, just kidding. But I can't wait to do that, because yeah, shapes are such a big thing. And I mean, you just nailed so much of what I'm trying to get in my work and bring across to you guys in my teaching, is that, yeah, it's that poetry versus the journalism.
Yes, that's what I was trying to say with 1,000 words you said in very few words, but yeah.
Fantastic. I really appreciate that, Darlene. And it's been great having you in the class. And I'm excited you're going to be with us next term, because it's going to be a lot of fun. All right, John Cummings, how are you? Good to see you.
Oh, thank you. I'm fine.
Great. What is the biggest thing that you're taking from this class, or that you think is going to affect your work? I know that you're new to oil paints. You're a pastelist. So I mean, there's a lot of information that you're picking up really quickly. So, but I'd be curious, what's kind of the one big thing that you found the most interesting, or you would like to continue to experiment with?
I'm kind of drawn to the classical approach of setting up a monochromatic design and then going into color after that. And so all of what you're saying about monochrome fits in with my budding approach to oil painting as well.
Great. I know you weren't here one of the times we were looking at your underpaintings, your kind of sketches, and got a chance to look at the video and see, but we were all just impressed by the movement, and the underlying architecture had a lot of like a danciness and a flow to it that I really hope you continue to lean into. It was a lot of fun to see. So are you going to be able to join us in the next class?
I don't know it. I've got to look into it, I guess, and decide. But it was $375. Does the price come down for at some point, or?
I don't think the price comes down. No.
It does if you join.
Oh, if you join OSA, but I think you are a member of OSA. But yeah, anyways, no, I don't think the price comes down. That's school.
I see.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, I'll be with you through next Wednesday at least. And
okey-doke. Well, great. I need to put you on the spot there.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. All right, Don, how are you? Good to see the top of your head.
I'm good. I'm a bit overwhelmed by all the intelligent people and wonderful work this class has been doing. I've got so many things in my head. Sometimes it's hard to pick up a paintbrush now that I know all these things that I've been taught. I will say what's helpful for me is plein air was always hard for me. But the wipe away method has allowed me to tear into something pretty quickly and not feel too committed or too worried about anything. So that's been pretty cool. The other takeaway is the most thing that's affected me the most is just watching you paint. And I think, well, that's done. You're pretty much finished with that, or that's terrible. What that tree is horrible. What are you doing? And you just keep going and going and going, and eventually, I don't care what color palette or what the subject matter is, it always turns out pretty nice. And I think that's just the patience of keep pushing. It's like tango on. I've done paintings where, you know, I thought I had something good going, the composition was pretty good, and then something just sort of falls apart and I give up. And I think you would say, well, just tango on. I mean, so what? I mean, just keep going. And I think that's what I've gotten from this class.
Perfect. I would have never said just tango on, but now I'm going to, because I've never even heard that term, but I love it. Thank you so much, Don. It's been really great having you in the class. And yeah, we are lucky. This is a very clever group, and everybody's sharing with each other and helping each other. And that's what's so neat about having a group like this is, you know, you have me kind of leading the march, but all of us are adding to the class and adding to the group, and we're all experimenting and sharing our wins and our losses and our challenges. And I mean, I know I learned so much from you guys. So I'm hoping you're all taking advantage of the fact that, you know, you have one, you know, quote unquote teacher, but you've got, you know, 14 others that we can still learn from each other. So I appreciate that. And Barbara Rourke, how are you doing?
I am like distracted. But unfortunately, I've spread myself too thin to really, you know, dive into this like I wanted to. But I think the biggest thing is I just love the Zorn palette. So I'll post here the painting I started last week with my art group. You're just using the Zorn palette. But I know I have so much more to learn, but again, reiterating the value structure, my green that I'd made with my Zorn was like not very good. I thought, gosh, this looks just like the black. And then I put black next to it, and oh boy, it is green. So using that contrast to bring out what I want to bring out. But I know I'm sorely lacking in composition. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to take another class until I finish this other class, which is history class that I'm taking. So, because that demands a lot of time.
Gotcha.
Yeah, well, yeah. But I will be back because
great.
I really enjoy your classes, Michael.
Good. And color will be this winter.
Okay.
January, I don't know what it is, 7th or 11th or something. I don't know what it is, but that's always a really fun class. Yeah. So anyways, appreciate you very much being in the class, and yeah, enjoy, just kind of, you know, tackle one thing at a time. And, you know, when you get time, I understand that, you know, not all of us, you know, are singularly focused on painting. And, so yeah, I'm here when you are ready. Okay, we are here as a group, and you're always welcome to join us on Thursdays, even if you're not, you know, in the class.
Thank you. That would be nice.
Yeah, that goes for everybody. I just want to keep the community going. I think, you know, I love the class, but I like the community just as much. I like
that was the one time I was able to attend. That was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed that too. I felt like I actually painted something.
Well, that's just it, right? Having that little time of chunked out in your schedule can be really useful.
It was good.
That's just it. It's always, you know, especially if painting is not your, you know, top priority, it can be really difficult to make time. Like we always feel, it almost feels like a greedy endeavor. Like, how dare I paint? There's dishes and laundry to do. How dare I paint? There's a dog that needs walking. But sometimes we just need to block it out and just you treat it like a doctor's appointment and just say, yeah, this is my time to, to make a mess and have fun.
Yeah.
Great. All right. Lisa Holmberg, how about you?
I just feel like there's been a huge jump for me. The last painting, it only took like a day. I mean, I've been fiddling with it since then, but I think finally I'm kind of getting the idea of being looser, lay in the darks. You can cover them up anyway. Like it's just paint.
Yeah, no, your last painting, I mean, I know we're going to go look at it here in a little bit, but it's my favorite painting you've ever done. I think it's just went along so nicely.
Thank you.
It's a confidence that you're getting in your work now.
Yeah, and I think just watching you, well, like many other people have said, it almost looks slapdash. It's not, but it's like you put the paint on, you put the darks, and then the form comes later and the details come later, and just see instead of think. And that's just been huge. I just feel like there's like been a hyperdrive jump, and I'm so excited. Now I'm like really excited. I used to dread it a little bit coming in and painting, like somebody else said, like putting that first mark on the page, but now it's like it's just guideposts and I can fix it later. So it's really fun. It's freeing and I'm just having a blast. So thank you.
People are drawn to the energy in paintings. Some people are going to want the photorealism or whatever else, but other people are really attracted to the spontaneity. The first painting I sold in my last show was one of the 30 brushstroke challenge paintings.
Oh,
it was because of the energy in it. They like the spontaneity, they like the looseness, and I was like, oh, I enjoyed making that. I should think about that more, that when I keep refining and overworking and everything else, that it's might be detracting from the painting versus adding to it, that there is that spontaneity, that excitement, that energy. And I think we scold ourselves for that sometimes. So yeah, thank you for that, Lisa. And my list that I'm going through here just switched all around. So Bonnie, did we talk to you yet?
No, you haven't.
Yeah, everybody switched around. So let me know
okay.
if I miss you, because I apologize. I was just counting on technology, and once again.
That's okay. I guess I want to say that I've really enjoyed watching you paint also. Your technique, your process has been really encouraging. I've taken a lot of painting classes, but never had a teacher demonstrate so much, and I really appreciate that. The thing that I've really learned is that blending is so hard, and finding different colors with acrylics is so much harder, I think, than with oils is my thing. I think I'm going to have to start doing some oil. And I feel like I would like to take your class the next session, and I'm going to try and start getting set up to do some oil.
Oh, good. Yeah, I agree with you. As a new acrylic,
like I tried to do the color wheel with acrylics, forget it, because they dry too fast. And I do have retarder, but it doesn't matter. It's not the same. And the paint is not the same kind of consistency.
It's also not the same vibrancy. There's way more pigment in oils than there is in acrylics.
Yeah. So I think limiting the palette. I love color. I'm a color person, and I haven't really put any of my paintings that I really like that I've done, a few years ago. But I think I really want to develop more learn from tonalism to help me in controlling my color and my values. I will probably always go to color, but I think I can learn a lot from tonalism in how to blend and make things more
harmonious.
Harmonious is the word. Yes.
Yeah. The truth is, Bonnie, like when I sell paintings like through galleries, and I'm not there, and then I'll get an email from the person that bought the painting. They'll almost always tell me they bought my painting because of the beautiful colors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And I don't think, but what it allows for, when I think tonalism and value and structure and composition first, is then I can make the color special.
Right.
Right. I know this is something I brought up in other classes, but this is a quick little story. Is when I lived in Australia, there was a song on the radio, and yeah, I can already tell some of you guys are like, oh, this story again. But there was a song on the radio by a punk band, and in the middle of the song, the lead singer just goes, "Everybody solo," and it just becomes a cacophony of noise because everybody's playing their solo at the same time. And I just remembered, like, it was such a light bulb moment for me that if everything is special, nothing is special.
Right. Right. I remember saying that a few weeks ago, and I think that's true.
Yeah. Yeah. And so when you paint in a more harmonious way, but yet like, oh, I want the clouds to be special, or the red plum tree or whatever it is, then you can play that area up and all of a sudden it's special. But again, if everything is bright, bright colors, nothing is bright, bright colors.
Right.
Because it's comparative. Everything is related.
Yeah.
Yep. Great. Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Yep.
Sandy. Are you there, Sandy?
Yep.
Great. I know you've been in a couple classes here with me now. What was something in this class that kind of stood out, or that's kind of adjusting, or that you might want to work on more?
When they talked about what is tonalism, and then you showed all the pictures of what tonalism, and then you had put up explanations about what it was, paperwork and stuff.
Great.
Because otherwise I couldn't grasp the concept really of what it really was.
Yeah, and again, it's still a somewhat abstract, amorphous term, but I think it's like, that I know it when I see it kind of a description. Yeah, and I appreciate that. And there's like, you just don't know, and we can, any painting could be debated whether it's tonalism or not, but yeah. So what is it about tonalism that you are enjoying versus, work that would be considered less tonalist?
Okay. Well, because I'm a colorist, it's hard for me to get my paintings to be tonalist, but I'm doing it, I think.
Absolutely. All
but
right.
I think it'll help me mute down my colors so they're not so bright anymore and make them look a little bit better.
Perfect. All right. And Hassan, do you have anything that really stood out to you about this last couple of weeks?
Yeah, many things. There's a lot of long list, to be honest. Yeah, the first of all, definitely the wipe away technique you teach us. As many of us told already, like, it is a lot of freeing, especially the concept of not using brush and just use tissues or kitchen towel just to like get the design right. I think that was kind of very freeing. Probably I've shared probably a picture or like painting couple of or last session maybe where I showed like a couple of my old failed painting, which I thought is not going anywhere, so I just stopped. When I tried again after taking your class, and with this like wipe away technique, I changed a few things around which I don't like, and I don't have to like commit anything until I'm happy. That concept is definitely it's probably like a game changer for my painting, I'd say.
I would say so too. I've seen a lot of growth in your work over the last month and a half. You're already a good painter, but boy, you're really taking some big leaps.
Oh, thank you. There's a few concepts like scumbling. I never tried that. Then I knew the value, but the low key, mid key, high key, I never thought about like make a painting out of that. Also, the limited color palette. Yeah, I always try like split primary or like primary, but with the muted primary, the yellow ochre and ultramarine blue and the red, the earth red, transparent red oxide. Yeah. So yeah, that makes a like beautiful combination I never thought of. So yeah, I mean, there's a long list. I can't probably mention all here, but yeah, I'm forever grateful for your classes.
Appreciate that. Appreciate that. And Michelle, are you there? Are you able to talk? Michelle Champagne? No. Oh, maybe. Saw you for a second. Are you there, Michelle? We are not able to hear you. There, we can see you.
Mute button.
All right, try talking. Uh-oh, we can't hear you, unfortunately. All right, we'll come right back. Is there anybody I missed? Oh, Linda. Linda Morgan O'Connor. Also muted.
Sorry about that. But yeah, in general, well, I can hear your voice in my head now when I paint. So that's probably a good thing.
Wait till I have your dream.
Some specifics like learning how to respect white wrangling, that was something I never really understood what white was doing and how much it was cooling and how much it was. Yeah, I'm just trying to avoid more and more using white. So I'm trying to do it limited. It's still hard for me, but because that's a bad habit that I'm having to learn to break. But just in general terms, this idea of being simpler, probably being stronger, so I'm really embracing the whole idea of limiting things. So having a simple, strong design and a limited palette and limited details. And I think that is probably why I like and emotional and the emotional content. I think it lets the emotional content come through better if you're limiting yourself. And so I guess that's pretty much where I'm at. I'm trying to do that in my work now, not always successfully, but at least I know what I need to do. I just can't always pull it off, but trying.
Absolutely. And one of my biggest compliments this semester has come from you, and that was basically that your paintings could take up to months, and now that you turn them out in a couple days, or even hours. I've seen you do them in hours, and that just means a lot to me because it's more fun, and you just keep moving, progressing. You keep learning when you're able to paint quicker and paint. A painting takes as long as it takes sometimes, which can be, sometimes years, where you're just visiting it and you don't know what it needs. But that ability to jump in and get it to a point that you're happy with is huge. So I really appreciated your saying that a couple of weeks ago.
And I think Hassan said it well too, that a lot of that comes from the technique. And so knowing that you don't get pulled in and committed quite so fast, especially when you're doing the wipe away technique, like you can just really not worry about it for that first, and then it makes that first part of this painting so enjoyable because you can really just play. And so, and then by the time you're done playing, then you're seeing something really good emerging, and then you can take it from there.
And play is way more fun.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think Michelle dropped off, so hopefully she pops back in and figures out what's going on with her microphone. And Gail, I know we talked at the beginning of class quite a bit, but do you have anything that really stood out? I know you've been in a number of classes as well, and you're progressing to, you know, a professional level. You're showing and selling your work now, but is there anything in this class in this last 5 weeks that you're like, wow, okay, yeah, I can't wait to continue with this?
I think the wipe away is always something I've been kind of leaning toward, and whenever I take your classes, I do the wipe away method because you're doing it, and I want to challenge myself to do more of it. So I think the one thing that the big takeaway again is reiterating the big shapes and creating those shapes with the wipe away method, and some of the happy accidents that happen as a result of that wipe away and moving the paint around has been big. And again, all the things that you reiterate and repeat class after class after class, I think the consistency of what you say and the way you work and the way you teach is hugely impactful. Because every time we take a class, even though it may be something you repeated at a previous class, it sinks in, or it becomes, it's in context now. So I've just really enjoyed watching you, and I've really enjoyed watching you work. I learned a lot watching you work. And that's helped overcome a lot of obstacles, taught me how to attack something new. So I don't know if it's just a lot of things. And I think that's primarily because I've taken more than one class from you. I think this is I've done 2.5 years or a year and a half, I think.
Yeah, yeah. And I wanted to mention that, I don't know if that was Darlene or Barbara that said earlier about watching me paint, is that, you know, at the end of the class, the school will send you out a critique form of me. And you can, you know, tell me the good, the bad, the ugly of my teaching style and everything else. And it is interesting that, you know, I'll get back to back, you know, forms from one student. Will be like, I love watching Michael paint. And then the next student will be, Michael demos too much, you know. And but I just know that me personally, as a visual learner, you know, that's why I try to present the information like I do. I try to give you guys handouts, I try to show you examples, and I try to demo, because I learned by watching my instructors. Like when I think back to college, the rare times the instructor painted, so impactful and meaningful for me. And so I that's the way I learn, but I know we all learn differently. So that's why I try to present the information in 3 different ways each time. Plus the 4th way is having you guys do it. So I appreciate that. And, you know, for some of you, I mean, you've all been very polite today, but, you know, for some of you, or some of my students that are no longer with us, it's because of the fact that I demo so much, and I realize that. But that's how I learned, and that's, you know, the people that continue to come back. I think that's an important facet to it. Yeah.
When you demo, you paint out loud, is what I call it.
There you go.
You talk while you paint, and you think, this isn't right over here, I need to do this. This isn't, I like this area. And that's how I learn the best, because I know what you're thinking while you're doing that.
Yeah, I agree with Cheryl, because it's a journey, and you know, reading is one thing, but watching you implement that is an entirely different thing and far more impactful.
Definitely.
Painting myself into a bad place and trying to figure out how to get out of it is a big part of it. I mean, was it last week? Yeah, I think, where I was truly terrified painting in front of you guys, because it just did not feel like it was working. And
I knew you couldn't put that first brush on that canvas. You just waited and waited and waited. And once it was on there, then you worked it out. And we know how you worked it out.
Great, yeah,
Mhm.
and it
Yeah.
was fun. It's actually one of my, I really like that painting. I went and dropped off 25 paintings at a gallery yesterday, and I did not take that one because I'm like, I kind of want to have that one around for a little bit. I want to study it and learn from it. And so anyways, thank you guys for letting me be less than successful all the time. But again, I learned so much by the challenge. You know, it'd be easy for me to paint safe things all the time and just try to impress you, but that does lack our painting. And some of you have been in classes in the past where at the end of the day I wipe it all off just because it didn't quite work out. And that happens. I mean, my paintings are not always successful, not even close to always successful, but I'm always learning from my paintings. So thank you for that, Gail. Michelle, are we able to hear you now?
I'm here now.
All right, there you are.
Yeah, I had to get on my phone.
It's all right. The bad thing is we can't see all your beautiful paintings behind you now, but
Oh, I don't know why. It blurs it out. I don't know how to unblur it.
that's all right. It's edited. Anyways, Michelle, as a new student and, you know, a busy mother and everything else, what's something that you've taken from this class, or what was kind of like the big aha moment for you, or something you look forward to expanding on?
I like the structure in here, and also a lot of things I've learned in the past, and then having you just repeat them, and it kind of makes me go back and do things that I've tried before and abandoned, like the
Yeah.
wipe away. I tried that before a lot, but I kind of stopped after a while, but I'm kind of starting it back up as well.
Yeah. What about just like the importance of value in design?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, that
Yeah.
helped
I
a
saw
lot.
your post on Padlet and can't wait to go look at it again. But yeah, it's really a strong underpainting. So anyways, I'm excited. Have you enjoyed the class? You think it was worth being a part of? And
Yes, I've signed up for the next class too.
fantastic. Great. All right, gang, let's take a 5-minute break. And then we're going to come back and we're just going to go ahead and jump to your guys' work so that I make sure that I've got you guys set up for our final project. And then we'll see how much time we have left over or what kind of energy level we have. And I was going to just kind of revisit a couple ideas. I've got a painting that I was thinking I might glaze into really quickly, or just starting my kind of painting for this 2-week project. But I think it's more important that I just make sure you guys are getting off on the right foot and thinking about what we just covered, you know, using what we've learned in this class. It's really important. You know, one time is not going to get it. You've got to revisit, you got to keep working on these ideas. And, you know, a lot of you are like, oh, you know, I think that my design and composition needs a lot of work. That's forever. That never, ever, ever ends. You know, color sensitivity, all these things never end. You never wake up one day and go, okay, whew, I've nailed values. Don't have to think about that anymore. No, it's always, you know, you're just going to expect more of yourself. And we won't always see it. That's why it's kind of good to keep old paintings around just to remind ourselves, oh yeah, I used to suck. Now I suck less. Yeah, so let's take a 5-minute break, and we'll check out everybody's beautiful work and your ideas of what you want to do for the next week. Oops. There we go. See you guys in 5.